Governor of the Reserve Bank of Australia, Glenn Stevens, discusses the future hurdles young homeowners face and how they will affect older generations. Soaring home prices were barring young Australians from a source of wealth and a major casualty of this could be startup investment in innovation, Mr. Bowen said in an address to the McKell Institute.Overall homeownership in Australia was at a 60-year low, with 42% of those aged 25 to 34 in 2012 owning their home, compared to 62% in 1982. This is not surprising, given that over the last 25 years young people have gone from having to pay just 5 times to now having to pay up to 15 times their annual income to purchase a new home. Quote, Mr. Bowen said the speech, quote, "The fact that young people are unable to crack into the housing market strips them of one of the most fundamental wealth drivers through their lifetime. No wonder the Grattan Institute has shown that falling home ownership rates for young people mean they now have less wealth than people of the same age 8 years before." Mr. Bowen saw a link between this wealth cut and the prospects for innovation and entrepreneurship, saying home ownership was not just an end in itself. With all the legitimate focus on entrepreneurism and innovation, let's not forget that many early-stage entrepreneurs borrow against their home when they can't get capital elsewhere. Quote, Mr. Bowen said, "If young people can't afford a home, then that opportunity for wealth creation in the future will be cut off as well." The shadow treasurer said the predicament of young home buyers had reached crisis levels. "We are a nation that can no longer house its own children," he said. "It is not good enough for governments to shrug their shoulders and say, well, that's the market in operation. There are few areas of our economy more a feature of government policy settings than housing. And those settings are working against middle-income earners with an aspiration to own their own home." Mr. Bowen repeated Labor attacks on the negative gearing system, which he said continues to provide very generous tax concessions to property investors and zero assistance to first home buyers. He said Labor's policy to limit negative gearing to new properties would put first home buyers on a more level playing field with investors, provide a stimulant to new construction to add to supply and, together with capital gains tax reform, add $37 billion to the budget over the next 10 years. This is exactly the sort of pro-middle class policy that shows people who feel forgotten that, actually, they are front of mind, he said. The kind of policy that is focused on the people governments should be focused on in these turbulent times. Hardworking people of middle incomes aspiring to provide themselves and their family with the security and stability of their own home. 3 essential tips to save money over the length of your home loan. News.com. Our privacy policy includes important information about our collection, use and disclosure of your personal information, including to provide you with targeted content and advertising based on your online activities. It explains that if you do not provide us with information we have requested from you, we may not be able to provide you with the goods and services you require. It also explains how you can access or seek correction of your personal information, how you can complain about a breach of the Australian privacy principles, and how we will deal with a complaint of that nature.